So my advice on keeping livestock, if you're thinking about starting up a small farm or a homestead. First bit of advice is start out small. Only keep as many animals as you're willing to take care of whenever you're tired, sick, injured, don't feel like it, because every day they need to be fed and watered. There's no getting at it. Tell you what, it is chilly out here this morning. All right, next thing. When you're keeping animals, only keep the animals that you don't mind eating, and you don't mind burying, because with the exception of tortoises and some parrots out there, you're going to wind up doing one or the other if you keep a lot of these animals quite a few times over the course of your lifetime. So if you're not okay with either eating the animal or seeing it get sick, grow old, die, getting more of the same animal, breeding more of the same animal, if you're not okay with these life processes happening around you, then keeping livestock is definitely not going to be for you. Maybe that might be the first thing you should know before you even start with how many to keep. Is, do you want to keep livestock at all? It really isn't for everyone. Good morning, Ducky. Hey, let me get this here for you real quick. Why don't y'all come out here and do some ducky stuff? Number 3 is know the limitations of your land. We're on about 1/3 of an acre here, which means realistically speaking, we can keep about 8 ducks all together and feed them off of what the land produces. Number 4, dispense with sentimentality. You don't have any space for it. Not if you're going to be farming and producing on the margins. And if you're going to be doing the hobby, you're going to be throwing a lot of money at it unless you're getting some other benefit out. So this brings us to what I'm doing here. I'm getting fertilizer, which I'm going to put out there on the wheat. That is liquid fertilizer. And I'm getting this soil bottom. Okay, that's kind of a diabolical slushy there. But this is great for adding to your tomatoes. So one of the reasons for installing the pond, two very good reasons. First reason is I want to have a drake so that I'll have a succession of ducks. Discovered that the laying is only really good for about 1.5 to 2 years, and then they start tapering off. You lay like gangbusters for that first couple of years. I'm going to have a steady supply of ducks. I don't want to have to go and order them from the breeders constantly, so that means I'll need to have my own. That means a drake. That means we'll have exposed ducks for the table on a regular basis. There's feathers for pillows and mattresses. That would be a nice side effect too. But all of that requires enough depth of water for the breeding. That's reason number 1. Reason number 2, of course, is if I wind up in a situation where I have to either get all of this water from my rainwater catchment or pump it. Then by pump it, I mean use the manual pump to lift it up out of the ground. If I have to do that, well, that's an awful lot of work, especially in the winter, because in the winter I have to unprime the pump prevent any water from freezing in the pipe up near the surface level and damaging the pipe. So that makes it more difficult. This is a 15-gallon tub. I want it filled to the 10, so I need to come back with another trip and get more water to fill it. I want to fill it up to at least 10 for them. 10 gallons of water plus maybe another 5 to wash out the tub. That's 15 gallons of water per day. If I'm only going to change out one of these for 3 ducks, it's kind of a ration. It's not going to work if I've got more ducks. But that's 10 strokes of the pump handle per gallon. That's 150 times doing this after you reprime the manual pump. I don't want to have to do that. When I grew up, on the farm I grew up on, we used pickle buckets. Anything that came to a restaurant in those commodity buckets, we used to use buckets. If they're reusable, they had all different kinds of things. That's food use only. But the buckets had a certain life expectancy. They're prone to catastrophic failure at the most inopportune time. 5-gallon buckets. These ones are flat back buckets, so you have one side here, so whenever you're carrying them, right, you have space for your legs without banging them against your legs whenever you're carrying. That's kind of a nice thing. Very sturdy design. The bail goes all the way through the lip here so they don't pop free at an inopportune moment. Once again, when it's freezing cold outside, you don't want that happening. And these hold 20 quarts if you fill them all the way to the top. That's 5 gallons, but you're not going to fill them that much. I just fill them down here to the point where they've got a line at 14 quarts. That's 3.5 gallons each for a grand total of 7 and 7. That was 14 gallons that we've used for filling this up. And it's going to fill it all the way up to the top here. Duck's very, very happy. And we'll put these back away for the next time I have to carry water. Look at that, see? There you go. So that was 28 pounds and 28 pounds. We're going to calculate how much water weight they is. So that's a grand total of 56 pounds. You could always carry a little less. I mean, I could have gotten away with putting less water in here. They're going to splash half of that out in 5 seconds. So when it comes to the question of what do the livestock bring, this is going to be consideration number 5. What benefit do the animals, these livestock, bring to the land? We've already talked about what benefit they bring to you. What benefit do they bring to the land? Well, in this context, the ducks are providing with fertilizer, but they're also providing me with, I would say it's a benefit to me. This is more of a benefit to the ecosystem itself. Pest control. They keep the slugs down. They keep the grasshoppers down. They burrow through the soil and find larvae that like to nest in the soil and emerge. A lot of those larvae pose a damage to the root systems of things like your corn or your grasses, like the the wheat there. And so the ducks are providing that service for us. So they're actually providing a little benefit to us. And this goes back to, the needs of the land, I think. How much space do you have? I suppose those are interconnected, because there's a certain carrying capacity that land has. It's about 24 ducks or so per acre. So a third acre, realistically speaking, shouldn't be having more than 8 ducks. If you've got more, it's okay, but you have to understand that if you do, you're going to have to bring in extra resources. And I guess that's going to take us to our bonus, number 6, consideration before getting livestock. Expense. Down here. This building, prefabricated sheet metal. We've got plywood decking underneath there, a couple cement blocks, and a few 2x4s to provide stability for the subflooring. I could have put a little bit more into it, in all honesty, but it's enough for the ducks to walk around with no problem at all. I just had to, not jump up and down whenever I'm in here. All together right now, this would cost anywhere from about $1,500 to $2,000. That's kind of a lot of expense up front, especially if you don't have any guarantee that at the other side of it, somebody's going to want to buy your eggs, whether it's ducks, chickens, turkeys, whatever it is. So that's upfront cost. And of course, there's ongoing expenses too. Small acreage, third of an acre. I'm not producing enough straw myself, even though I do grow, as you have seen, my own wheat, a certain amount of wheat. I do get a certain amount of wheat straw, but certainly not enough to satisfy all the bedding needs. And in the winter, you need extra bedding. So we've got some bedding in here already. We're bringing in 1 extra bale. So we have a couple of things. I can add this bedding on to cover up messes as they occur. You want to keep that going so your eggs are as clean as possible coming out of the coop or out of the duck head, as it's called this area, as possible. You don't want really messy eggs. And trust me, if you don't keep up with the bedding, they'll be messy. So this is ongoing expense that you have to put up with, but it's definitely worth it. And of course, come springtime, we've got all this organic matter that we can come out, add to compost, put down in the walkways as we like to do, to boost up those walkways if we're not going to just dig them right out right there on the spot. Yeah, good stuff. But number 6, how much are you spending on this? And ultimately, it's up to you to decide whether or not that expense is worth it. Having a homesteading and farming lifestyle, well, it isn't for everyone. But if you don't mind putting out a little bit of initial expense, or, a little extra effort and elbow grease on the front end, you can build a shed with scrap materials and not spend $2,000 in today's economy to create a space where your animals can take shelter. Ultimately, as I look at things, and if you look back here at the back wall, you can see how the urea from duck manure has caused some corrosion on the inside. I think another season or two, and this shed is going to be pretty much deteriorated at the baseline, and its ability to protect the ducks from nocturnal predators will be greatly diminished. I'd probably be a bit better off spending the extra effort and building it out of more durable materials from the beginning. So that's a lesson that I learned from using this prefab metal shed. I hope that's a benefit to you. Well, all right, good people. There is 5, maybe 6 things to know before going out and buying livestock for your homestead. I hope you found today's video informative or entertaining, maybe a little bit of both. And if you did, well, you know what to do. I'll catch you next time. Until then, get out there and get going.